Spaghetti, 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 spaghetti. I have had so much spaghetti code going on, it has been unreal. You would not believe. In fact, so much so that I effectively started from scratch. So basically, what has happened is I've built, taking my various modules, which I was doing, it was going really well. But I became aware of the fact that my player movement script and my player jump script and my player combat script, they were all taking, they were all sort of accessing the same animator, they were all accessing the same rigid bodies, and that was what they were doing in their start and wait functions. And it suddenly made me a little bit concerned about whether or not things were if it was going to be using unnecessary memory just to sort of access basic stuff. And then, and this is where it got really interesting, I was trying to refine the combat and it stopped working. Basically what had happened, I got myself into a bit of a mess. I'd sort of used controlling the combat from over here, but also over here, and the movement here was being affected by that over there, which in turn was affecting that over there, and you ended up with about half a dozen or so scripts that didn't work. Basically, it meant as soon as I was trying to add or change anything, the whole thing just fell apart and burst into tears. Not me, you understand the game. I don't care enough to burst into tears over it. So I spent most of the last 3 or 4 days rebuilding the code for the game. So, and what that's meant is I've been able to refine certain things that maybe I wasn't happy with. So there was the weird ladder issue. Well, that now works. I've sorted that out. The roll wasn't doing exactly what I wanted it to. Now it's doing exactly what I wanted it to. The combat is working beautifully. And the way I've done it is through using a finite state machine. Actually, technically using a hierarchical state machine, which is quite fun to say. So I thought what might be interesting, a little bit fun today, would be to have a quick look at what I've done. So yeah, this is effectively the one of 3 of the major scripts that I've sort of run everything for. So I have my my state machine script, and that literally just breaks out the requirements for the state machine, the basic ideas. And then I have the player state script, which shows how the thing's going to work. And then we've got the player script, and this is where the bulk of the nonsense goes. So at the moment we have here we have the variety of states, and these are all individual scripts. Yeah, right, that's what I thought. And they do a single function. That's all they do, which means that if I remove one, it doesn't matter, code still works. The code still works. It all works. And I mean, I've only commented in here just so I very quickly can see where I am. The comments aren't needed because everything's well named and you can see what's going on. So these are the states, and each of these states actually, they're nested. So my unarmed states are all reading from an unarmed state, sort of a super state. These are all the sub-states, I guess. Same with the arm states, the ground attack states, the air attack states, the ladder states, the climb states. Really, in fact, so just bring down that climb states because it's going to drive me nuts. And then using this little thing, which is all of my data, so all my move speed and my move velocity, jump velocity, climb velocity, all of that nonsense is in here. Then we've got little components. So rather than every single script individually grabbing hold of the animator, grabbing hold of the input, grabbing hold of the rigid body, the stats, they're all in there. So I'm always referencing back to the player script. We've got some transform checks. So I've got ground check, ladder check, and attack check. quite simply, that's exactly what they do. The ground check is, am I on the ground? Ladder check, is there a ladder? And the attack check is, so the way I've designed my attacks, you kind of got the sword, it has sort of two stages. So you have the lean back and then the attack. And if you look at a lot of tutorials, what they talk about doing is basically for the length of that entire attack, you are attacking the player, which is fine in theory, but it's not what I wanted. So I've divided each attack into two bits. You've got the attack and the transition, and the attack check works on the transition, so that you're only knocking your opponents flying during the transition. It also allows you to, whether or not, rather than things being on a timer for combos, it's all done in the transitions. We then got some other variables here. So this is just very basic stuff. Yeah, so just fun fact, when using getters and setters, apparently Visual Studio likes you to use the convention of a capital letter. How exciting is that? Unity callback functions. Now this is a fun little thing. Again, commented, but mostly, actually it's a bit, I don't like the uneven spacing. The comments are just in there for a little bit more clarity, although what I might do is just leave a line in between each one and then I can get rid of the comments, but it's just so I can see where we're at. These are when we awake, there's my state machine there, and then all the individual states. The start function, what's happening in the start, we've got getting our components, facing direction, so it's just for swapping around the sprite, and then yeah, the initializer, the state machine. So what is its first state? Its first state is the unarmed idle state. I've got this little debug statement here that I probably don't need, but I'm leaving it in just because if something goes wrong or I need a new state, fingers crossed I shouldn't, I can see what's happening. And then we've got these fun little things, which I quite like. So we've actually got where are we? Yeah, so we're calling in these little things. So we've got our physics update and our logic update being called, which is kind of nifty. So what happens is for each state we've got, I mean, it's being called elsewhere, the enter and the exit when you go into the state and when you leave the state. But we've also got the physics update and the logic update. The logic update is doing exactly that. It's updating the logic, and the physics update is responsible for the physics. We've then got our check functions, which is grounded, check if hit, check if touching ladder, check if critical hit, and check if should flip. Quite simple. We've got combat functions, which we've got damage enemy, critical damage enemy. I wasn't really sure what to do with these. I thought about putting them in a separate script, but I quite liked everything being in sort of this one space. I might remove it. I might remove all that functionality and put it into a separate script that's calling into this, but I don't know. It's not. None of it's causing any issues. So we'll see. And then we've got our leveling up stuff, which I'm just in the middle of finishing refining. And then yeah, at the bottom we've got this little thing, which is really cool. So when there's little triggers at the end of animations. If your animation's finished, you can trigger that it's finished, and that makes it work. And actually, where is Unity? Here we are. Let me pull that up so you can see. I don't know if you can. I don't really know how I'm doing this. Let's look. Screen capture, window capture. Let's do. Here we are. Right. So if we have a look here at Unity, which is kind of cool. Put my little face above because let's be honest, that's what you're here for. We've got this funky little thing. So if we very quickly looked at the old animator, so where are we? We are old. Here we are. So this is how things were before, right? This was my animator. Look at all the transitions, and I divvied them all up, but each one's got all these things, and it's that animation hell. I think Jon from Lost Relic Games refers to it as. Absolutely awful. Look at all this nonsense. Not good. Now, animator is this. Looks a bit complicated, but actually it really isn't. So all that's happening is everything's going from entry to exit, and we've got our unarmed idle, move in the air, unarmed dodge roll, armed idle, blah 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 blah. Each one's got a ball to activate it, and that's it. So there's no triggers, nothing like that, and it all works beautifully. So yeah, that's been basically what I've been doing for the last 4 days, is 3 days, is reworking everything. I'm now back to where I was, finishing off the leveling stuff. Enemies are working still, which is good. That's still using the same state machine setup that I have, but that's going to be, I might refine that. I might refine this so I'm not using the animator at all, other than just holding the animations, and instead I am playing the animations. But you know, at the moment it's all good. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. A little bit of a weird one this week, but yeah, have a lovely rest of your evening. Take care.